have lost just 3 of their last 24 games against Arsenal, but the Emirates will be nervous and noisy this afternoon. A win for Arne Slot's Reds would put them 7 points clear of Arsenal, and the Liverpool boss has made 3 changes from the side that beat Leipzig on Wednesday. Andy Robertson, Curtis Jones and Luis Diaz all return to the starting 11. Arsenal, of course, have got key players missing: no Saliba or Martin Odegaard. They're looking to respond after that shock defeat last week. Yeah, welcome along to Matchday Live. It's one of the biggest fixtures of the season in the Premier League, this one, isn't it? Arsenal against Liverpool. It kicks off at 4:30. In the studio with us for the build-up, Gary Gillespie and Martin Kelly. We'll hear from them in just a moment. Now, though, let's cross over to North London, where Rob Jones and Jan Molby can bring us right up to date on that team news. Rob.
Well, good afternoon from North London. Bathed in sunshine, Liverpool have already passed 2 big tests over the course of the past week. Victory over Chelsea in the Premier League, a win in Leipzig in the Champions League, and Arne Slot makes 3 changes from the last 11 he selected in midweek. Into the team come Andy Robertson, Curtis Jones and Luis Diaz, with Kostas Tsimikas, Dominic Szoboszlai and Cody Gakpo dropping out of the Liverpool 11 this afternoon. Let's bring it to you in full then. Kevin Kelleher will keep goal against Arsenal in a league match for the first time. It'll be a back 4 of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ibrahim Konate sent off in this fixture last season, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. The midfield 3 of Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, who's won on 3 of his last 4 visits to the Emirates, and Curtis Jones. And a front 3, Mo Salah looking to move level with Robbie Fowler on 163 Premier League goals today. That would take him to 8th on the all-time list. Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez, who scored the winner in Germany. All 3 of those players that dropped out of the Liverpool 11 today are on the bench here at the Emirates. Jan Molby is alongside me. Well, it is a glorious afternoon, perfect for football, perfect conditions for Liverpool to retake top spot.
It looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, how you go into these games, frame of mind, and I think Liverpool, both teams have got injuries, but it doesn't seem to have had the same effect on Liverpool and the build-up to the game, whereas you almost sense with Arsenal, not just the supporters, but also within the club, that they're panicking a little bit, you know, whether they can get the players back or not, and what an adverse result might do to their season.
Let's talk about some of those selections made today, and I mentioned it that Mo Salah can move level with Emmanuel Noel, Robbie Fowler. Robbie's seen as very much a poacher, a natural finisher. Mo Salah arrived at Liverpool a wide man. Not sure he'd have got too many betting on the fact that he'd get to 163 Premier League goals at one stage.
No, and I think almost the biggest thing was when Mo arrived was that we'd seen him at Chelsea and that wasn't particularly successful, and he'd done okay at Roma, but then you think this is a massive step up. But from day one, he fitted in perfect, and this idea again about buying players to the system. You buy the right players to your system, you've got a chance. And he's been nothing short of sensational.
Yeah, 162 he starts the day on in terms of goals, but it's not just the goals, it's the assists as well. And some of the passes he played in that game against Chelsea last week, the outside of the foot, you sort of think if that was a Kevin De Bruyne playing those sort of balls, we'd be purring about it and talking about it for a lot longer than we do with Salah.
Yeah, I mean, you'll never get away with calling Mo Salah one-dimensional. But when you look back at his early days at Liverpool, he was just on goals. He scored goals and he kept scoring goals. So that was never an issue. But I just think in the last 2 or 3 years, he's added to that. Maybe he's lost a little bit of pace, but he's added to his game. He's added to a very impressive game already with his passing. And you can only be a great passer if you see the pass. Seeing the pass is half the battle, isn't it? And he's starting to see things before anyone else sees it. So, yeah, coming back to the Chelsea game, there was a couple of cross-field passes, you know, played at the right time with the right pace. So, yeah, I mean, the boy again, and if anyone has ever any doubt about Mo Salah, look at the stats, because the stats will back up everything you think about him.
And the ball he played for the winning goal wasn't too bad either. How impressed were you with the match winner Curtis Jones last week?
Probably fair to say it was just about his best game in a Liverpool shirt. Whether he agrees or not, I don't know, but he played ever so well. Slightly surprised and maybe a little bit worried when you saw him in the lineup, not because he was playing, but because McAllister wasn't there, and you thought, what's that going to do to our ability to control the game? But Curtis came in, he had a job to do without the ball in terms of sticking close to Cole Palmer, and then when we had the ball, I think the signal was clear: make a nuisance of yourself, get forward, get into the penalty area, be that extra striker in the box, give Chelsea something to worry about, and it worked a treat.
He has spoken a couple of times about how much he's enjoying playing under the new manager. You've had a chat with Trent Alexander-Arnold this week about how much he's enjoying life under Arne Slot as well. Not surprising when you've won 11 out of 12, but the players are clearly buying into it.
Yeah, and I think, yes, of course, it's easy now, isn't it, with all the wins that Liverpool have had. But I even think from day one, the players have really enjoyed the training. Not that Klopp's training wasn't any good, but sometimes you need a bit of a change and you do different things. I guess Arne Slot almost 100% would concentrate on different things to what Jurgen Klopp used to do. So the word from the dressing room is that the training is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I guess you can say it's inspiring, one or two of them, because there is one or two people who have benefited from having a different voice, different ideas and different ways of training.
It's interesting as well that I think sometimes I think people want to see it as a negative towards Klopp if you're saying that Slot is great, or that actually just a different voice, even if the previous voice was as inspirational as Jurgen Klopp, isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, absolutely not. And it's the impact it has on players, isn't it? You know, for some of the players, it made no difference. You know, they're still where they are. They still play every week. But for other people, you know, some might not be involved as much as they were under Klopp, and others have been given a chance because different playing styles are required, i.e. Curtis Jones, who has an incredible ability to keep hold of the ball, but also to play forward passes when it's on. And of course, he's a semi-goal threat. You know, we don't have many goals necessarily from midfield, and I know that Arne Slot earlier in the season was talking about Szoboszlai and a bigger output in terms of assists and goals. Well, maybe Curtis Jones can solve those problems.
Just finally, we were talking about this in the press room before we came out, but with Arsenal in, not trouble, but see them off, or not quite see them off, but make it very, very difficult for them to be part of this title race with a Liverpool win here this afternoon.
So Arsenal lose today, they'll be fourth in the Premier League, 6 and 7 points behind Liverpool and Manchester City. You wouldn't fancy that on any given day. That's going to give you a problem. One thing is chasing down one team, but trying to chase down two teams. Arsenal's biggest problem, a lot's been made of the injuries. Arsenal's biggest problem is they're not playing well, they're not freely creating chances. That is a problem, and because of the way Liverpool play, controlling way with and without the ball, I think Arsenal are going to find it very, very tricky today.
Jan, thank you very much for the moment. Jan is going to be with us a little bit later on, closer to kick-off, alongside former Arsenal player David Hillier, as we count down to a 4:30 start here in North London.
OK, thank you both. Let's get Gary and Martin's thoughts on the lineups. We will just refresh you, first of all, on the starting 11s for both teams. They are as follows. Firstly, here is the Liverpool lineup for the Emirates this afternoon. Quaveen Kelleher in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ibu Konate, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson in the back line. It's a midfield trio of Ryan Gravenberch, Curtis Jones returns and Alexis McAllister today. Up front, Mohamed Salah, Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz is back in as well. Various names on the bench, including Dominic Szoboszlai and Cody Gakpo for the Reds this afternoon. On to Arsenal then, who obviously are missing a number of names through suspension and injuries as well. Saliba, of course, got a red card last weekend. He does not play this afternoon, serving part of his 3-match ban. Jurrien Timber starts for the Gunners, and critically for them, in comes Bukayo Saka as well, which is massive for Arsenal this afternoon. So it's David Raya, Ben White, Thomas Partey, Gabriel. Bukayo Saka, as we say, starts this afternoon. Gabriel Martinelli, Jurrien Timber, Leandro Trossard, Mikel Merino, Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. So amongst the subs, you can see there Raheem Sterling could appear against Liverpool for what would be a third different club since his departure. OK, Gary and Martin are here ready to give us their thoughts. Martin, is that the lineup you were expecting from Arne Slot today?
Yeah, looking at it, I think we all we've seen the lineup there, and it's going to be the game to watch today. I think we've been building up to this game for a few weeks now, so this is going to be Arne's, biggest test. I think we're all excited to see it and to see the starting lineup, and buzzing that, likes of Jones as he's had to play. There was a bit of, would he start and start? I think it was a given that he would start off how good of his last game was. So to have him in along with Nunez, I think we all know how good and valuable he is for the team in and out of possession. So to see him today, I think Arsenal's high line, it's going to suit Nunez down to the ground. So it's an exciting game. I think we're all excited for it, and the team is probably what I expected, yeah.
Happy to see Curtis Jones back in, Gary, today?
I think he deserves his chance. I think the performances we've seen so far from him this season, you have to say that Dominic Szoboszlai struggled ever so slightly. I think he certainly put the shift in, as Szoboszlai. His work rate has been phenomenal, but the end product has sadly been lacking a little bit. So Curtis Jones coming in with the performance we saw against Chelsea, obviously scoring a goal certainly helps as well. So no surprise that he's come into the starting lineup. And it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, like Arsenal missing two big players for them, and Saliba and Odegaard. That's a big blow for them. But it's only Saliba's only got himself to blame, really, getting sent off. But it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that and the kind of formation that they actually play and who they play inside it. It looked as if Timber might be like the centre back alongside Gabriel, or Ben White might even come in there as well. So it'll be interesting to see who plays alongside Gabriel.
Obviously, Martin mentioned Darwin Nunez as well, who was really impressive midweek against Leipzig, just was bothersome to defenders. And if you're looking at the Arsenal back line today, when obviously a slightly inexperienced together centre-back pairing, if you like, he'll be looking to maybe take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a different sort of Darwin Nunez from maybe what we've seen like last season. I think very much a case of like playing on the shoulder of the last defender on many occasions last season and getting caught offside quite a number of times. But from a centre forwards point of view, I don't think you mind that too much, because like one of these opportunities you'll get onside. But I think he's like developed his game a little bit more over the course of like the pre-season, and you can see he's working a heck of a lot more defensively. I think when you see like the game with this game, I mean, he was back in like defence more often than not. He makes runs into these channels, and it's certainly going forward. It certainly gives Liverpool an outlet. So with Diogo Jota out, no surprise that Darwin Nunez starts. I do think that had Jota been fit though, with the record he's got against Arsenal, he's got a good goal scoring record, Jota, against Arsenal, I think he might have played, but obviously Darwin Nunez keeps his position and hopefully he can get amongst the goals, because I think that's all that's really lacking at this moment in time. Yeah,
it's interesting you say about his defensive work. We are going to show you in a moment his heat map from Wednesday night, and this kind of illustrates, I think we can show it to you now actually, the work that he has put in there. And I think Arne Slot's been very keen to stress that because the defensive record has been so good, it actually starts from the very front of the team, and he kind of epitomises that.
Yeah, definitely. It starts from those front three. They ultimately start the press, don't they? So when you see these two massive giant of sides going against each other, you see both goalkeepers are part of starting the play-off for teams. So the way that Salah, Nunez will press alongside Diaz today, they'll start that off, and it'll be interesting to see how their starting positions are up against a back four that we don't know who's playing where at the minute. So it'll be interesting, I think, from our point of view, to see Nunez's runs against the high line of Arsenal, along with Salah and sort of Diaz high and wide, leaving hopefully a 1v1 situation on such a big pitch. It's going to be hopefully really good for us to watch.
That's what we want, isn't it? If you have missed any of the results this weekend, let's just bring you up to date about the Premier League games so far. Obviously, it started on Friday night. Nottingham Forest, excellent start to the season, continued at the King Power, beating Leicester City by 3-1. Aston Villa 1, Bournemouth 1, Brentford last gasp winners over Ipswich Town with a 96th minute goal there. Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Wolves 2. Brighton were 2-0 up in the 85th minute of that game. Wolves still had time to claw it back and get a draw. Manchester City, I think we expected maybe more than a 1-0 win there at the Etihad yesterday, but 1-0 it finished over Southampton. And Everton are fortunate to get a point at Goodison Park yesterday evening. 1-1 that finished against Fulham. Today, so far, latest scores: Chelsea 2, Newcastle 1, Crystal Palace 1, Tottenham 0, and West Ham against Manchester United. Currently, it is 0-0. So this is how the Premier League table looks at the moment. Obviously, of course, a win today would take Liverpool back top. And Martin, when you look at it at this stage of the season, it couldn't really be going much better, could it?
No, definitely. I think looking back now, Liverpool's had some good fixtures, and the start we've had, we can't ask for a much better start, could we? But I think looking at the game ahead today is probably our biggest test, especially away here at a stadium that now you see this side with Arteta. They create something that, from an atmosphere point of view, has changed over the course of the last few years. I think this game will be so lively to start off with today, and Arsenal will be the ones that sort of take the game to Liverpool, and Liverpool won't stand for that. The way that they stamp their authority on games, you see with the possession and the way that Arne and his side like control of games. So it's going to be really interesting to see, especially from the fans who are from the neutral side of watching football. We always go on about these top sides trying to overload in final thirds and stuff like that. So it's an interesting one to watch, and I think we're all super excited to get the game underway. Hopefully it lives up to what we're all building it up to be.
We certainly are. Just an hour to go. We have actually got an extended interview with Trent Alexander-Arnold coming up a little bit later on, but for now, just listen to this snippet, which I think is exactly what the fans want to hear.
Apparently this was the start of a 10-game run for us that is going to be very difficult. So in our heads, you know, we've just got past a really hard hurdle, and we're going to another really hard hurdle that we believe we can get past. So whether they need a reaction or not is not in our mindset. Of course, they're gonna try and put things right with a win, but you know, we go there with our mindset to go and win the game, and you know, the manager will come up with his game plan, and we'll go out there and try and execute it. And you know, like I said, the mentality at Liverpool Football Club now is to go to the Emirates and win.
Yeah, he's just very positive, no messing around there. He knows exactly what the order of the day is, Gary.
I think it's always been the case if you're playing for Liverpool that you go to places and you expect to win. And I don't think this team's any different. I mean, they've made a fantastic start, haven't they? I think this is a big test. I think Arsenal finished above them in the last couple of seasons. So like Arsenal are like the kind of form horses. I think everybody, all the pundits you listen to and talk about, they all think that Manchester City and Arsenal are the two strongest sides in the Premier League at this moment in time. I think Liverpool have got a big say in that, and it starts here this afternoon, and they can make a big statement.
You're obviously talking about how excited the fans are and how excited we are, but that dressing room is going to be buzzing and so fired up ahead of this one, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. It always helps with conceding 3 goals as well. So from a defensive point of view, from Liverpool, they'll be going into this with full of confidence, looking at the changes that Arsenal have had to make. They've got, you know, like Saka and Timber back, which I think Timber may play left back, he may not, like Gary said. So I think Liverpool, the team selection from Arne Slot tells me that he's going to go for the game today. Yeah. The way that he started Luis Diaz and you know, Salah and Nunez up top. It's going to be a game where I feel like Liverpool are going to try and take control of the game, which Arsenal won't like, especially being at home. So it's going to be a really interesting watch, and I hope that we carry on with our form. It is going to be our toughest test. But going into the game, what we're on 9 or 10 now, and we've got the 3 goals against it with 5 clean sheets. It's such a great start for Liverpool.
I want to speak to you specifically about Trent. Obviously, as a fullback yourself, I'm sure you've studied the games of hundreds of fullbacks in your time. When you look at him and the qualities that he possesses, he is undoubtedly amongst the elite in the world, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, when he first started out and came on the scene, and especially when I was a fullback at sort of Palace and when I first came in at Liverpool, it was a different game then. Since Trent started, you know, people would question his defensive side of his game, and I think he's grew into the position of making a fullback more than just a fullback, which we can all, you know, give credit to him to pushing on the game and advancing.
Yeah.
That is now you see him, and most of the time he spends is in midfield and he's starting play. And I think the area you look on the pitch that you see just outside, you know, the box in the final third for Liverpool, whenever they're creating chances and he's on the ball there, that's where he gets a lot of his assists. So in terms of Trent as a fullback, he sort of took it to a level that I never knew. When I was playing at fullback, I was more of a defensive fullback and loved clean sheets and tackling. Trent's sort of the one who dictates the play, and I think over the seasons, the assists he's got just shows that Liverpool's identity, whenever you're an Arteta or a big manager coming up against a Liverpool side, Trent is Liverpool. Everything starts from Trent, so he's such an asset to this Liverpool side, especially in possession. and I think for him to create a full-back position like that is what teams and why the bigger teams in the world will always want someone like Trent in the team.
Yeah, he's evolved the game, I suppose, in a way, hasn't he, Gary?
Well, I'm not sure if it's Trent that's involved the game. I think like the style of a fullback has certainly changed, certainly from my day, and even like listening to Martin, like, it probably has changed even like since Martin's been played. And I think it keeps evolving. I think under Jurgen, like the first couple of seasons, we saw both Andrew Robertson bombing forward, we saw Trent bombing forward, and leaving all sorts of spaces behind, which I think kind of contributed to the fact that everybody thought that Trent couldn't defend, but he got isolated on many an occasion when he was up the field and he had to get back, and the wingers taking him on, and he didn't have anybody around him. And like Martin, he'll agree with me. When you're a defender, when you get isolated in one-on-one situations, it's not an ideal scenario. But then now again, even like the fullback has changed again because he plays in a central position. He comes in and plays central midfield. So again, that's evolving. And I think it's really from like the style of football that like teams want to play now. They want to play from the back, and that really has all stemmed certainly so much in the Premier League from when Pep Guardiola came into the equation at Manchester City. And I think all these teams now, the majority of teams playing in the Premier League all want to play like football from the back, and as I say, fullbacks are key roles in the position and in that theory and that ethos of like playing from the back.
Yeah, he's got a big test today, hasn't he, against Bukayo Saka. OK, it is time to say goodbye now to our viewers on social media. If you do want to stay with us, though, then details of how you can sign up to LFC TV are online right now. Head to liverpoolfc.com/watch. And coming up on the rest of Matchday Live after the break, we've got more from the Emirates, and we'll hear from Cody Gakpo as well. We've got live audio commentary of the full match on LFC TV from 4:30, and then from 6:30 tonight, we're live for an hour with our post-match reaction. Then if that is not enough for you, later tonight you can listen to the latest episode of the Reaction Podcast. That is available wherever you choose to listen to your podcasts. Then at midnight tonight, the full match replay will be on LFC TV. And tomorrow you can get a look behind the scenes of the trip to the Emirates with the latest episode of Inside that will be dropping on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Well, if Liverpool win today, Arne Slot will become only the third manager in Premier League history to win his first 5 away games, and we'll hear from him after the break.